Hey everyone, are you ready to be fired up? Because I sure am. I've got Craig Siegel here, and we are going to talk about so many things, from him being a nationwide speaker, completely reinventing himself when COVID hit in so many different ways, having a Wall Street Journal best-selling books, and so much more. We're going to be talking about entrepreneurship, mindset, and I'll let him tell you about all of the rest of his accomplishments because there's too many to even list. Craig, welcome. How are you?
My goodness, what an introduction. There's no place in the world that I'd rather be than right here with you. We had such a good time when we got together recently and collaborated. Let's do it again. Let's have some fun.
Yes. So really quick, I always like to, where can people follow you? People always wait till the end. I like to do it in the beginning. Tell us a little bit about where listeners can go to kind of learn more about you and what you do.
Yeah. So anywhere you listen to podcasts, the CLS Experience, anywhere you buy books, the Reinvention Formula, anywhere on social, at Craig Siegel _CLS. Come say hello. I love to interact. And if you like free inspirational nuggets through the week, you could text us and join our texting community at 917-634-3796. Text the word Krista so they know that you heard it here.
Awesome. I love it. Okay. So the reinvention formula, I really want to talk about that because that is one of the reasons that intrigued me to having you on this podcast. So tell me a little bit about your backstory. I know that you were on Wall Street for years and years. And so tell us a little bit about where you came from and where you're at now and what prompted this kind of change in what you're doing.
Yeah, I spent 13 years on Wall Street. And I think like many people, I started to lack purpose in the work that I was doing. And I wouldn't have changed a thing. Learned so many great lessons on Wall Street and it was a big part of my life. But towards the end of my Wall Street career, after spending about 13 years there, I started to feel this intuition that I was here for something much more, something much bigger. And so I started to get this intuition, but I was still in my business. And as you can imagine, in New York City, having your own business, if you don't take time to pause, you're going 300 miles an hour and it's time to really reassess. And so I've kind of found myself in a little bit of a burnout. A bunch of dark things kind of happened at once. I just got out of a toxic relationship. My best friend, my dad, had just gotten diagnosed with cancer. He's still battling. And even though I had my own business and I was successful on the outside, my soul was contracting. I wasn't expansive by any means. And so I found myself in a dark place, started drinking a little more than I'd like to admit, but I didn't stay there long. All of a sudden, I started running. And because I was so humbled by the first couple runs, that's how I knew I had to do it. And I started running all these marathons, which was cool. And I started to run really fast, but I wasn't looking to become a professional. I was really just looking to find myself on that journey. And then fast forward the pandemic. I mean, talk about a global awakening. For me, when I shut down my office, I looked at this as an historic opportunity to just reassess. If not now, then when? And I was able to channel downloads and it occurred to me that I've been obsessed with personal development for 15 years. I just didn't think I was worthy of turning that into a career until I realized this is much more than just a passion. This is my assignment. Put together a whole strategy, leaned in, and for the first time in my life, I was in alignment. The creator loved that. And I never looked back, left Wall Street for good, totally reinvented myself. The business is boosting and never had more fun in my life. And also unapologetically making more money, but it was never about that. It just happened to be an energetic exchange for really being in alignment.
And doing with what you want. That's kind of a... my passion is mindset too. I mean, I love mindset. It's just something that from my past, you don't know much about it, but I've had to really, really lean into the mindset and understand what you think controls everything in your life, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And as long as you put your body and your actions and your tactics in alignment with what your feelings and your purpose, crazy things can actually happen. And you are a true testament of that because you haven't, this is a whole new profession, a whole new audience for you, and a whole, it's completely different business and purpose that you actually have. So talk a little bit about that because I think, some people, they look at people who are successful and they think that it just came easy and that they're successful because they have all these followers, they have this big list. You basically started from ground zero 3.5 years ago and now are just crushing it in your coaching business, crushing it with the mindset. Talk a little bit about how you did that and what you thought, because everyone's on their own journey doing the same thing, whether it be business or personal. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I think we just did a whole TED Talk on this. Actually, we just dropped it. And I think there's a big misconception of reinvention. When I think of the term reinvention, I think some people get intimidated. Just to be clear, it does not mean starting over. It's finishing and executing on what you've been dying to do. It's the journey back to yourself. And for so long, I had been inauthentic. I created this persona that I thought the world wanted to see from me. I was a Wall Street guy, I'd make a certain amount of money, I'd have these types of relationships, and that was it. When I considered that I could change the narrative, I could change the scene in my movie. Ultimately, I'm writing the script, and I started thinking about, instead of what can go wrong, well, what can go right? How good can I stand it? And I started challenging my perceived limitations, and I started thinking much, much bigger. And I started focusing on the things that I was excited about, like helping people, like revamping your mindset, like tapping into your purpose. You know, I saw a very alarming stat that only 20% of Americans are actually finding purpose in the work they do. It doesn't have to be like that. And I speak from contrast because I spent a very long time on what I thought was stuck. But the truth matter was I wasn't really stuck. I just felt stuck. When I challenged the ego, the opponent inside my mind that we all have, public enemy really number one, and I started to resist the temptation of giving in, and I knew the simple concept that playing small is canceled, and I started to really think bigger and tap into what my gifts are, and none of us are gifts are ours. They were given to us, and we have to channel them into the world. And when we do that, we're able to tap into something much, much bigger, spiritually speaking. And so I started to do that. In regards to mindset, everybody deals with the ego, the opponent, Satan, whatever you want to call them. It's the ego that wants us to feel unworthy, to play small, to think that it's too late, or who's going to want to listen to this, or it's a saturated space. But none of that is actually true. And one of our greatest superpowers that's applicable to all of us is restriction. If we could just restrict the temptation of giving in to that voice, we can actually overcome it. And by doing that, we ascend to our next level of expansion, meaning more blessings, opportunities, money, relationship, authenticity, all that stuff. And so these are some of the things that I've done. And what you see here is the byproduct.
So let's talk about that a little bit deeper. When you say when we can stop giving in to the temptation of playing small, and you used a word there that I heard it and then it went in and it went out as quickly as it came in, and I was like, oh, I let restriction. You said restriction, right? Restrict ourselves from playing small, from giving in to the things that we know are not adding to our success, our overall health and wealth in all different areas of abundance in life. Kind of give us some how do you, because that's an easy thing to say, but a very hard thing to do. In fact, there's actually a study called the Change or Die study where doctors told heart patients that if you don't stop doing this thing, either stop drinking or start exercising, limit your food, your fatty foods, you have to change, that over 90% of people after a year could not change, even with death on the line. So it's very difficult to do, even, as I said, with death on the line. What are some of the strategies that you could say has helped you be able to like make those restrictions and just say no to the bad things and say yes to the right things?
So I think that everybody would not deny that gravity exists, meaning if you were to jump out the window here behind my New York City high rise, even if you were a really good person, you would still go down, right? Nobody would dispute that. So just as sure as that is real, so are there spiritual laws within the universe, and they exist. And it's a whole system that we could tap into. And these spiritual laws are really what affect people's lives. And one of these laws is the law of cause and effect. In other words, what one puts out is what one gets back, or what we sow is what we reap. If you think of this as a vibrational universe, everything is energy. Your song is already playing. Anything that you want to tap into, you market, real estate, digital market, whatever, it's already there. We don't have to create it. What we have to do is tune our frequency so that we're a vibrational match for the stuff that we actually desire. The problem is most people desire stuff, but they're tuned into a negative frequency. They have limiting beliefs that stop us before we get started or make us feel unworthy and all that stuff. So what I want to encourage people to do is, next time you feel those limiting beliefs, and the good news is you could probably test this out later today, because that opponent is relentless and there will be opportunities. Anytime you feel these limiting beliefs, like you're not worthy or it's too late or I don't have the experience or the case may be, just pause for a second. Don't react. Let's transform from reactive to proactive, and let's convert that pressure into expansion. When you feel that type of pressure, those limiting beliefs, and then you succumb to it, that pressure turns into stress. Everybody knows stress kills. It's a beast that can ruin your day. But when we convert that pressure, we're able to ascend. So anytime you feel something negative or it, just ask yourself, is this really true? Or is this my opponent, the ego? And once you have that realization, you have the opportunity to resist succumbing to it. And even if you do nothing, just don't react or pause, you'll notice that the seas will begin to part. And that's how you really tap into something a little bit bigger to us. I don't know how deep you want to go spiritually speaking, but there's different laws in the universe. There's a system that's basically the blueprint for the human soul. And just like gravity, we could tap into some of these laws.
So is that in your book? Do you talk about that in your book, like kind of the whole process and all the laws of the universe and all that?
So for that particular book, not as much. It's more practical and mindset and all the stuff that I did to reinvent myself and building a personal brand. There's definitely spirituality in there. Don't get me wrong. But I would say since I wrote it, over the last year and a half, I've really tripled down my spirituality, and it's made all the difference in the world. And when you're connected to something a little bit bigger, and I don't want to put anything on everyone should do their own thing, but I imagine everyone thinks that what does it even mean to be spiritual? Let's just define that. That means that you believe that there's something going on here beyond our logic. I think everybody would probably agree with that. So what is it? How can we connect to it? And you see and you can speak to this, like the things that you achieve on your journey, whether it's money, success, or relationships, or awards, those are all nice and they're part of the human experience. But none of those things will actually create lasting fulfillment, right? So what does? That's connecting to something bigger, fulfilling your purpose, sharing without an agenda, doing a lot of good in the world. And ironically, when we do that, it's reciprocated. All good stuff begins to come to us and so forth. So it's about tuning that frequency into the vibration that you desire.
I love it. It's so funny because when you were saying that you really tripled down over the past, year and a half or so writing your book, I read a book that's very similar. It's called Stop, Snap, and Switch about mindset. And I will tell you, I'm a huge mindset person. I've had to be based upon my past experiences. But when I was writing that book and just doing all these research studies and learning how the brain worked, it made me so much more hyper focused on my own practice of Stop, Snap, and Switch, right? And from that time point, it's like even my belief, which I already believed, and just got enhanced so much, which then my life enhanced so much because I was practicing what I already know to be true and teach, right? Kind of similar to what you said. It's very, very true because you're hyper focused on it and you're hyper focused on the good things and the right things. But yeah, I love it. I'm excited to actually I want to dive deeper into what you're talking about because it's very similar to like believes like. I believe in very similar things that you do, which is really, really nice. All right. So now, people's biggest enemy, well, there's two. The number one enemy I believe is delay. That's straight from Napoleon Hill. But other than delay, I believe that people's biggest enemies are kind of what you said, that they're themselves, right? Like it's the what ifs, if things don't work, or what if this happens, or it's like all of this overthinking and questioning and quite frankly doubting every step of the way, especially even just starting. I mean, so, and a lot of people suffer from that, right? They suffer from, that's kind of like the fear of the unknown, the fear of, I say fear is like, change the meaning of it, but how would you help people with that? Because I believe that fear and the lack of belief and the lack of uncertainty are a huge factor in people's lack of success. How would you help them with that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think it's a good idea to define what success means to everyone individually. And those of you can pause this right now and really just quickly take an assessment. What does success mean to you? But I think I know what it means for you and also me as well. So we'll stick with that. I agree with you. I think that fear, doubt, uncertainty plagues most people. Mm-hmm. And there's something else that we can tap into, and that is certainty consciousness, right? And that means there's such thing as confidence and self-belief. And then there's a whole other thing, and that's a knowing, a trusting, a certainty. And this is really, really deep stuff. But I believe if you want to go higher, you got to go deeper. And I'll even give you guys a quick example. You don't have to be Jewish or anything like that to appreciate this story. But I imagine most people are familiar with the story of Passover, meaning when Moses freed the Jews out of Egypt and they were being chased by the pharaohs, and then they split the Red Sea. When the Israelites stood at the Red Sea, they were provided with a technology that is mind over matter, the ability to influence the cosmos, complete control of the physical world. But the prerequisite for that technology was that they had to exercise a certainty, right? And if the consciousness of the Israelites had contained any doubts or fear about whether they could indeed split the sea, they would not have succeeded, right? And they were being chased by the pharaohs, by the Egypt. They continued to walk into the sea until the water reached their neck. And only then did the sea split. So,
I didn't know that.
yeah.
That's and yeah, it's like certainty and faith are kind of like the same definition. People think of faith
Yes.
as it's like faith is you believe in something that you can't see, right? It's kind of like if you
Yes.
had to see God to believe in God, nobody would believe. Faith is having the belief that
Yes.
something will work. And I think people hear the
That.
word faith and they think like, oh, faith, this is like it's spiritual. It's God. No, faith is certainty. It's certainty in
Yes.
what you can't see. And why can't we believe in the certainty or the faith that something will work, that we can succeed? Why don't we so often go for the opposite of it, you know?
You nailed it. Everybody considers the opposite, right? What if it
Yeah.
doesn't work out? Or what if I'm judged? Or what if I look silly? Or what if it doesn't work out? That's certainty that pretty much it won't work out.
Yeah.
But
Like
there's
you're
a
setting your own faith, whether you do,
yes.
like you think you can or won't. And it's so sad. Most people choose the opposite way. So I could talk about this for hours.
I know, me too. We'll get you on our show and we'll go even deeper and longer. But for anyone listening right now that's like, okay, this is unbelievable, but what is something tangible that I can extract now to activate that certainty consciousness? Every time you feel Krista was just describing, transform from reactive to proactive. Cancel that thought and replace it with a different one and double down on that. So if you're getting plagued by what if it doesn't work out? What if they judge me? What if I look silly? You have to replace those with something more empowering. And when you begin to water those plants or give sunlight to those, then those will blossom. And because we discussed already that this is a vibrational universe, literally anything that you're tuned into, you're going to receive. So everyone talks about manifesting. I know it's very trendy. You don't manifest what you want. You manifest what you are. And the reason why that is so powerful is because if you don't love the results you're getting in your life right now, no problem. Give yourself a little grace, dust it off. Let's see what we're vibrating on. What are we sustaining right now? And what changes can we make to begin to tune that frequency to start attracting the things that we actually want? But if we don't take the time to remove doubt and fear and all that stuff, we'll never be able to manifest the things that we truly desire.
This is really incredible. Like you have no idea. I mean, what you're basically telling them to do is my stop, snap, and switch method. It's so like they know that method. I'm only bringing it up because they know it, and it's like I want them to like understand. He's saying the same thing that we teach and that you all listen to, and most marriages have read my book. It's the same thing. It's just he's like, what are you thinking about? Change it, and the stop, snap, switch. You kind of have you put a little physical activity into it. But I love this. It's like. I love what you teach. I believe in it. It resonates with so many. And it all starts with this. Like, it's funny when you talk to successful people, Craig, they will say the same thing in different ways, right? It's like recently I was on stage with a bunch of really high performers. And I was like, you would have thought that the person told us all to like say these same things. So they all said the same things in a different way. And it wasn't like how to, be the best Wall Street person or how to build your best funnel. It was all of their tactics were basically mindset, things and just like acting, everything that you teach. And so it's almost, it was weird because a lot of times you go to these things and they tell you, you're teaching on this. It was like open forum. And I was like, I know this sounds very cliche. Like a lot of what we teach it sounds very cliche, but it's so cliche that it's not. Does that make sense?
It makes all the sense. It's so fun. I know exactly what you're saying. So many people want you to teach them how you did this, this, and that. How did you build your personal brand? How did you market yourself? How did you close that many deals? But really, what they need is to rewire and fix the mindset, right?
Yeah.
And then no problem with the strategies. In fact, the downloads, the ideas will probably come through you and no problem. But even if you have the exact strategies to do what Krista did, do what I did, someone doesn't have the right mindset, they wwon't be able to accomplish it, respectfully.
Yeah, it's true. And I say that sometimes when people are like, well, no, tell us how to do this. It's like, I'm telling you, you're not listening. It's so funny. I respect it so much. I do. It takes a lot of work too, and a lot of practice.
Just like anything, you got to do the inner work. That shouldn't be a chore. Like this is the best. Like there's nothing else in the world I'd rather be doing right now than speaking to you about this. I love this stuff. I can't get enough of it. I made a career out of it. But doing the work, guys, like everybody listening, like that should be a non-negotiable. If you want to get jacked or run or be in physical shape, physical fitness, of course. But what about the mental fitness? It's more important. Just make it part of your routine. Get excited about it. Learn every single day. Find what works for you, and you will continue to go in the right direction. It won't be a straight line because nothing is. But as long as you're doing the work and you're learning lessons, you work on yourself every single day, it will work out for you.
I love it. So tell me really quickly, I just want to hear a little bit. Tell me a little bit about your day. So like you said, make it a part of your day. How do you what is a little bit of mental fitness that you do daily to help you show up in your best?
Yeah. So I'm a little bit of an extreme example because all day long I'm pouring into people, whether it's my coaching clients or my community or a podcast or a speaking engagement or whatever the case may be. In the morning, it's a non-negotiable for me to charge up for the day. It's like, imagine you were going to be out all day and you needed your phone. You want it to be at 100%, right? So in the morning, I will wake up extra early. My fiance's like, why do you wake up that early? And I like to call it sharpening the axe. But I'm charging up. I'm reading Zohar. I'm learning. I'm taking some notes. I spend the first 2 hours of my day in my routine, going over the to-do list for the day, praying a little bit, and then just taking it in, like wisdom, knowledge. What do I want to speak about today? Getting myself excited, reprogramming my thoughts and so forth so that I could be charged up because I know all day I'm going to be pouring into people. Mm-hmm. So that's non-negotiable. It's so important. So for anyone listening, you don't need to spend 2 hours doing that every single day. I'm sure it can't hurt. But find time for you. I would suggest in the morning. This way you can really set the tone, right? Be on fire, be in that right frequency, in that right vibe. And then everybody will respond to you accordingly for the rest of the day. So whatever it is to you, whether it's a podcast, listening to Krista's show, some of the content, read something, spend at least 30 minutes a day. Set the tone, get in the right vibe, and then go about your day. Trust me, this will pay off.
Ooh, I love it. Okay, so I always end every podcast with this, and then I want, again, for you to tell them where they can find you. And what's the name of your podcast again? Can you remind me?
The CLS Experience, anywhere you listen to podcasts.
The CLS Experience. So that's your initials. What's your middle name?
Landon. Don't laugh.
Okay, I figured out. I know what the L stands for. Yes, Craig Siegel, but work with the L. I like the name Landon. So the CLS for
Thank
Craig
you.
Landon Siegel Experience. So do me a favor. I always end it like this. So if you had to give one piece of advice, whether it's business, personal, financial, health, wealth, relationships, just one piece of advice, what would it be to end?
First of all, it's never too late. First and foremost, no matter where you're at in your life, how old, whatever it is that you're doing, it's never too late. It starts with a decision, a commitment. Confidence comes after you commit. Everyone wants to try something new, but they're waiting to get the confidence. That might not come because typically confidence is tied to experience. But if you're willing to commit, if you can awaken that desire, set a goal and start attacking it, then all of a sudden, spiritually speaking, that's when doors will open up, opportunities will present themselves, surprise support, the creator, whatever your thing is, can follow suit. But it starts with us. Make a decision. It's never too late. And simply put, why not you?
I don't think anybody's ever said it's never too late out of hundreds of podcasts. I think you're the first one that's ever said it's never too late. And I love that. It is never too late, no matter who you are, where you've been. It's never too late. Craig, thank you so much. And please I really appreciate your time. I've had a really great time at this podcast. You know, sometimes it's like you're with people, it just isn't the same connection. This is an amazing connection. And I've been just as intrigued as the listeners I know are going to be. Let them know where they can reach out to you again. And thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much, Jaime. I feel the same about you. We got to do so many more things together. And I can't wait to meet you in person. Yes. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, sales experience, anywhere you buy books, Reinvention formula, come say hello on social media at Craig Siegel _CLS. Shoot me a message. I love to engage. It'll most likely be me. At some point I'll get to it. And I just want to all do life together. And I believe there's no egos out here. We're all in this and connected. We're more powerful. And we just want to do a lot of good in the world and have some fun.
Ooh, I love it, everyone. Again, this is Krista Mashore with Craig Siegel. And I hope that you are just as fired up as I am. And I will see you next time. Thanks so much for watching my video. You can learn more about how to be a successful real estate professional by watching other videos that I have. And be sure to subscribe to my channel. And as always, make it a great home selling and buying day.